Welcome to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast, America's #1 podcast for new real estate investors, where we know that finding discounted properties is the most proven path to financial freedom. I am your host, Brent Daniels, Mr. TTP, and I am telling you this: if I can do it, so can you. So let's get started. Listen to this. In 6 years, 2,190 days. The gentleman that I am interviewing on this podcast today is doing 100 deals a year. He has added 70 doors to his rental portfolio. He's flipping about 50 to 60 of those deals every year, and he's doing it based on getting referrals from other investors. We're going to break all it down. We're going to break down this 6-year journey. It is my pleasure to introduce to the Wholesaling Inc. podcast from Columbus, Ohio, Austin Rutherford. How are you, brother?
I'm good, brother. Looking forward to this.
I'm excited. So 6 years.
Yep.
What a journey so far. I mean, you're doing it all, right? When we start in this business, when we start as real estate or budding, young real estate entrepreneurs, we start out finding deals,
Yep.
right? We start out finding opportunities, and then which is essentially called wholesaling,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
That's all wholesaling is finding discounted properties.
Absolutely.
And then there's a lot of different paths we can go. We can do fix and flip. We can do rental portfolios. We can do development. We can be the bank. We can do coaching and mentorship.
Yep.
You're kind of doing it all.
It's grown over time, but it's been a journey. Started out with just flipping, didn't know anything about wholesaling, and then got into actually new construction, and then learned about wholesaling, fell in love with it. It was a lot easier to make money, and then just continued building the rental portfolio along the way.
So what about you? What is that spark? I mean, you're speaking to an audience that has that fire in their belly to be real estate, business owners,
Yep.
and to change their lives. We've read Rich Dad Poor Dad. We've read Think and Grow Rich. We've read The Go-Giver. We've read all these amazing books. We've got all these great ideas.
Yep.
How did you start? Like literally, what was the spark that started this whole business off?
Absolutely. So my dream was to go to the NBA. Didn't work. And then for whatever reason, the book Think and Grow Rich fell into my hands. Read that book at the age of 19 years old, and then the possibilities just opened up. And I was actually journaling on my rooftop here in Phoenix, Arizona. I lived here for a year, and knowing nothing about real estate, there was like a 10-unit apartment building across the way. I was like, wait a minute, if one person owns that, but 10 people are paying them, real estate's the way.
Right.
So fell in love with real estate, started buying every, little knick-knack book you could buy to learn as much as possible. And so I was on the I moved back home to valet cars to Columbus, Ohio, and I was just trying to start real estate. And I was driving into work, and it was like, hey, you want to come to learn how to flip houses? Come to this little free meetup.
Like on the radio.
Yep. So I went to the free meetup. It was 3 days. Day 2, they're like, hey, we got this mentor program. And that itch was there, but you needed the money on day 3, and I was broke. So that night I went home and opened up a line of credit, a credit card, maxed it out the next day, but I still didn't have enough money for it. And there's a moment in life where people know something's for them, and that was me that night. I asked my parents, I asked my uncles, I asked everybody for the remaining money to put down on this payment for mentorship. And at the time I was still living with my parents, and I couldn't get the money. And I literally crawled under my parents' dining room table and started bawling my eyes out because I felt like I was missing out on an opportunity of a lifetime.
Sure.
Parents woke up, came back downstairs, saw that obviously I was dedicated and I wanted it, and they loaned me the money, swiped my credit card, thought I was going to be rich in a month. Didn't quite happen like that, but it did work.
That's incredible. So was the mentorship for fix and flip?
Correct, yep.
Got it. So once you get into this mentorship, what do they have you do? How do you, this is the biggest thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
We read the books.
Yep.
We see the YouTube now. Yep. We listen to the podcast. We're doing all these things. But a lot of it is education.
Yep.
A lot of it is not instruction.
For sure.
I mean, I think that's why this podcast is so popular, is because we want to get into the nuts and bolts
Absolutely.
of exactly what to do. Just tell me the action items and I'll do them, right? So what did they have you start doing so that you can, because when we get started, we're excited, right? We've got that passion. We're just on fire. Everything looks like an opportunity. We haven't been tainted. Nobody's rejected us yet. We haven't had a deal fall out, right? Everything is like blue skies, right? but then you get into it, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, I got to stay motivated. I got to keep taking action. I need to move the ball forward, or I'm going to just this passion, this energy is just going to kind of burn itself out in one spot. What did you do to start taking the action?
No, absolutely. We think we want to get rich overnight. It doesn't always happen like that. So the first thing that I learned is, one, how to evaluate deals. You got to know how to run numbers.
Yep.
And two, the biggest thing with the misconception a lot of people don't understand, we're not really in the real estate business. We're in the marketing business.
Yep.
So from day one, we started marketing. And since that day, I've never stopped. I've never missed a week in marketing because I understand that's the lifeline of the business. So back then, I didn't know about cold calling or RVM or SMS or none of that stuff. So it was just direct mail.
Yep.
Direct mail and driving for dollars. So from the day I swiped my credit card to the day I ended up purchasing that first flip, it was a 10-month process.
Wow.
It was, I was working real estate. I was a licensed realtor. I was working 50, 60 hours as valet. I was going to college, taking 15 credit hours because I promised my mother I'd get my college degree. So I was putting in 18, 20-hour days. I actually remember driving home from work one day and I fell asleep at the wheel. I woke up because I hit the curb and I was on the sidewalk and there's a light pole in front of me. Woke up, went back on the road, drove home, started writing handwritten letters to send out to sellers. So it was a process, but direct mail. The first deal came from 5 letters over 5 months to the same person, and it was a probate. They ended up calling back 7 siblings we had to put together, but ended up doing the deal from it. So the biggest thing is you just got to market. That's how you get started.
Well, you have to have conversations with distressed property owners.
For sure.
That's the fact. I mean, that's the whole reason I wear the same shirt every day that has TTP on it. You got to talk to people about their properties. You have to. Either they're going to call you from marketing, or you're going to call them from being proactive and prospecting, right? And the third one, which we'll get into because I think it's really exciting for this audience, is getting the referrals, being the guy or gal in your market that people know and trust and like to do business with.
Yep.
But it starts out, you've got to find a way to have those conversations with people. So what do you do? So just you said something there, 10 months.
Yep.
It took you 10 months. And you're working as a valet.
Yep.
So you're running around all day.
All day, every day.
You're going to school.
Yep.
Right? And you're doing this real estate.
Yep.
I mean, there's a lot of distractions. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of opportunities for you to go, you know what? It's not going to work.
100%.
You know what? I can make money doing something else. You know what? Oh, that's that shiny thing over there, that other business, that looks good too, right? Like, what kept you in it for those 10 months?
100%. It's a struggle. People think they're going to get into it and get rich. I had friends that I lost. I had friends that literally called me like, hey, bro, are you okay? We haven't seen you in 6 months.
Right.
I had friends that you say you're working all this time, but you're not making money. What are you doing? You're lame, right? It's something we go through. But I just always had that motivation to, win. I like to win. I wanted the nice things. So I just got through it. It was definitely a mental fight. 10 months to buy it, another 6 months to renovate it and sell it. So it was 16 months, in debt, credit card debt, $100 in my bank account at times. And sold the first house, made $100,000 in profit.
Oh, come on!
And the rest was history after that.
That is bananas. So, well, let me just get into the technical things here for a second. So, you're a valet. How does a valet buy a property? How do you get the cash to buy a property? Then have enough money to get it fixed up, and then wait for it to get sold.
Yeah.
While you know what I mean? It's not like you've got millions of dollars in the bank. It's not like your family's loaded and they're just giving you all this. Maybe. I mean, how did you finance it? How did you buy it?
We never went without, but my family never had real money. I definitely didn't have real money.
Right.
So my entire, business, all the rentals, everything has been funded by other people. So private money lenders is how I built it. So it was a $74,000 purchase and a $170,000 rehab. 600 square foot addition, $28,000 into the foundation, roof, window, siding, gutters, new 2-car garage. A lot of lessons.
This is your first deal?
First deal ever, 21 years old when I bought it.
This is making me sweat.
Yeah.
For real.
So borrowed $250,000 from a private money lender.
Okay.
Funded the entire deal. They pushed off all interest and principal payments until the sale of the property, thank God. And so
how'd you find that lender?
So a year before, networking, right? You always got to be talking to people, TTP.
Yeah.
So a year and a half before, as soon as I got it, swiped my credit card, I went to a meetup. And we were just talking with people like, hey, what do you do? Da, 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 da. And the lady was like, I just rolled over my IRA to self-directed. I'm going to start flipping houses. I was like, oh, cool. Like, congrats. Hopefully everything goes well. A year later, I got this deal. I'm like, all right, well, I got to get the money for it. So I just started thinking who I could call. And I was like, I wonder if that lady still got the money.
Self-directed IRA money.
So I called her back. She was like, I haven't done a deal. I was like, got an opportunity for you. And she funded the deal.
Wow. Just like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, one, there's a couple important things to look at here. One, she knew it was a deal.
Yep.
So you obviously put together something that showed here is the potential equity in this property if we do X, Y, and Z and take care of these things with this property.
Yep.
And it made sense.
Absolutely.
And she understood that it was a discounted property. I think that's where this all starts. Remember, if you want to raise money, you got to find deals.
100%.
They got to be discounted.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to find the opportunities to do something special with that money.
Yeah.
You can't just hope and pray that somebody's going to give you money if it's a tight deal or if it's an okay deal. This was a big spread. You made $100,000 on your first deal.
Yep.
How old were you at the time?
I sold it a week after my 22nd birthday.
22nd. So you're 21
Yep.
going out there raising funds. And I highlight this just because anybody can do this.
100%.
That internal fear that people have of, can I do this? Can I not do this? Listen, Austin is giving you a perfect example. And if you're just listening to this, make sure you check out the video interview of this, Brent Daniels YouTube channel. Put a face with a voice. But that's incredible. I mean, people can do this.
100%.
You didn't have credit. You
Nope.
just amazing credit score. You didn't have cash reserves. You didn't even have experience.
Zero.
What you did have was you had enough courage to go talk to people at a meetup group, build a connection, show that you're out there hustling, and that was enough for you to raise money.
100%. I mean, no business, no construction, no real estate. But like when people know, when you show that you're dedicated,
Yes.
and you're able to answer questions
Yes.
intelligently. Like if that lady would have asked me, well, what happens if you die? What happens to my money? And I said, well, I don't know. I wouldn't have got the money. Mm-hmm. So I educated myself on it. And I knew the answers to things. I got, promissory notes, mortgages, all that stuff. So when she had questions, anything, sellers, marketing, all that stuff, if you have answers and you sound like you're the expert, people just tend to trust and believe in you.
Love it. 100%. So how'd you find wholesaling?
So a couple years of like flipping and stuff. Made good money doing it, but I never did a rehab less than $100,000 budget.
Wow.
Like we were doing big monster rehabs. Some went tremendous and some, we didn't do as well, right? And I don't remember exactly how I found it, but when I heard about it, I was like, wait a minute. I'm doing all this work, putting 6-9 months into one house, and like I can do it without even doing any of that?
Yeah.
So fell in love with it, increased the volume on deals through the marketing channels and stuff. So we started wholesaling more for fast cash. We still flipped a little bit, the big ones that made the most money, and then started buying some rentals along the way too. But once wholesaling was put in game, you can do a lot more deals and make a lot more money.
That's it. And how do you determine, because you've got 3 strategies. Mm-hmm. You've got buy and hold. Right? And
Yep.
I'm literally speaking of you, right? You've got your rental portfolio, you've got fix and flip, and you got wholesale.
Yep.
So when a deal comes across your table, how do you determine what you want to do?
Absolutely. So about a year ago, it switched. So before a year ago.
So 5 years of your business, you're
flipping. I'm trying to run it up.
You're trying to flip flip is your first option, wholesale second, rentals third?
At back then.
Okay.
Yes. But a year ago, I got tired of chasing money 24/7, 365, which is wholesaling or flipping. It's a great business. You can make a lot of money doing it, but you're always looking for that next deal.
Right.
So about a year ago, the model changed a little bit, and the first option now is rentals. So the goal is to get in through the Burr method, 75 cents on the dollar so you can refi out of it. Mm-hmm. And in our market, we look to make $400 a month in profit and cash flow. If it fits that, we're keeping it. If it doesn't, if it's less than a $50,000 rehab, we're going to flip it.
Yep. And
profitability is 20% ROI. And if it doesn't hit those numbers, then we're wholesaling it to somebody else.
Love it.
Yep.
Love it. And I think that this is important. This is an important lesson because, it's almost like you put your chips on the table and they keep stacking up. And you're like, yeah, they keep stacking up and keep stacking up and it keeps stacking up. But you're like, okay, this is great, but I need to take these chips off the table or I'm going to lose them.
Yeah.
I mean, you literally will. You'll get silly if you don't take the money off the table for yourself and start putting them into assets because all of a sudden you get a big, heavy bank account. You get a big stack of chips.
Yep.
All of a sudden, you're starting to feel comfy. And then all of a sudden, you start hiring more people than you need. You start, kind of like starting new marketing channels and getting kind of cute and creative with some other things. And all of a sudden, that stack of chips is way less.
Yep.
And you've got nothing that you're taking home. You know what I
100%.
mean? You have nothing that you're adding to your wealth,
Yeah.
to your net worth.
Yep.
So you're taking those chips off the table now because that's switched.
Yeah.
So now you're looking to buy more rentals first.
Absolutely.
And then because right now, just talking before this podcast, you got $15K a month
Net.
cash flow
Yep.
net that you're making from your rentals,
Yep.
right? It's $180,000 a year. That's fantastic. It's not $1 million.
Yeah.
It's not $2 million. But this is an incredible passive cash flow. It covers a lot of costs, right?
For sure.
But you're going through you're taking it to the next level.
That's not even
do you
close.
have a goal for how much you want to?
The goal, like, quickly by the end of this year is to get over 100 doors.
Awesome.
But like, that's the closest goal that I have right now
Got it.
on the rental side.
Yeah. Do you have a financial goal? Like, you're like, if I get to $50K a month passive, like, I'm going to feel good? Or is it one of those things where you're like, you get to 50 and you're like, well, 100 would be good. You know what I mean? Like,
There's always the next level. Like, my goal is to make 10 million a year.
got it.
And that will be part of that. That's not going to give me the 10 mil.
Right.
But that'll be part of it for sure.
Got it. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Let's break down a deal. This is the Wholesaling Inc. podcast.
Absolutely.
We break down deals so that people can understand exactly how you found the deal, how you negotiated it, what was the situation with the seller, and what you made from it,
Yep.
right? So hit me with it. Whatever deal you want to talk about, we'll start with breaking down the 4 pillars of pre-qualifying. And if this is your first time watching or listening to this, anytime that you talk to a property owner, you're looking for 4 things to see if there's somebody that you can do business with. 1 is the condition of the property. 2 is their timeline to sell. 3 is their motivation to sell. And 4 is their price. So
Absolutely.
hit me with it.
Yeah, so it was a lead that came in from a direct mail campaign.
Okay.
They called us and was like, hey, we're interested in selling the property. So we went through the questions, build report number 1, and then asked about, the condition, if they live in the property, is it tenant occupied, why are you selling, where you headed to. So asked all the questions to determine the motivation. And kind of a weird scenario on this one. I had a salesperson at the time, and then they, for whatever reason, didn't think the deal was a deal. So they killed it. And then a couple months later, I brought another salesperson in because it wasn't working out. So they were going back through like old leads and came to this deal, and they were asking $100,000, and the house was worth $300,000.
What?
And I was like,
How did your guy not think that was a deal?
that's why they weren't there anymore.
Yeah. Okay.
But I was like, what? And the dude was like, yeah, I think this. He's brand new. He's the first week. He's like, I think this is like a really good deal. And
Yeah.
I looked at it. I was like, yeah, it's a great deal.
This is direct mail.
Correct.
What list did you send it to?
This was a high equity.
High equity, owner occupied, or doesn't matter?
Non-owner
Non-owner.
occupied. Yep.
So this is somebody that it's a rental property. They've got some equity. Did you do anything with the age of the house or the amount of or the length of ownership? Any of that?
No,
No.
just a high
you
equity.
just wanted a big, wide list.
Correct.
So you went what percent equity?
70.
70% equity. Non-owner occupied.
Correct.
Single family house?
Single family.
Single family house. Okay.
Yep.
So that was your 3 filters that you did for your list?
That was it.
That was it?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay. So you open it up. You're sending out mail. They call you. Somebody drops the ball. Thank God that you had somebody else do cleanup on this thing.
Yep.
They call this person and go ahead.
Yeah, so the tenant just moved out at the time, like a couple months before. So I don't know if they said it wasn't a deal because maybe there was a tenant at the time.
Got
But
it.
at the point where we followed up, it was just turned vacant. It was a older gentleman. He was tired of keeping up on the house. It was one of those houses that had like knob and tube and the old shag red carpets. Like it needed renovated.
Yeah.
It was not like a nice house.
Yeah.
And so we got on the phone and we're like, hey, we talked a couple months ago. He's like, yeah, I remember talking to you. You what's going on? We're like, you still interested in selling? He's like, yeah, the house is vacant. We're like, can you meet in an hour? He's like, yeah, I'm actually at the house now. Jumped in the car and took off.
Beautiful.
And, pulled up to the house. Funny thing is, I didn't even take a contract with me.
Yeah.
Because I was just going. And I got there and we built rapport. And he was like, yeah, I want to do 100,000, knowing I could sell it for 150 very, very easily. And I was like, all right, perfect, let's do the deal. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't have a contract with me.
Oh, no.
So I called my assistant to load a DocuSign contract to send to him, and then just sat there and walked him through the process of signing the agreement.
Love it. And the reason he wanted, was he just a tired landlord? He was just a tired landlord. So will you explain to the audience why people get tired of being a landlord? Because you are a landlord of 70 properties. So why would somebody be in that situation?
I mean, it's like, I'm young now. So when you're young, you want to build, you want to grow, you're ready to deal with all the headaches, the people not paying rent, the people throwing house parties next door to other people. Like, it's just part of the process. But when you're like 70, 80, 90 years old and you've rode this wave for 20, 40, 60 years and made millions of dollars off of one property, and you haven't owed on it for 20 years, and somebody's flashing, a couple $100,000 in front of you, like, it's motivating, but it gets tiring. Everybody like makes rentals out to be like this beautiful passive guaranteed income. It's not that.
No.
Like that $400 a month that I said that we try to make. Like, we're lucky to actually take home $100 a month. Lucky to do that with all the vacancies and all the repairs. Because when a tenant moves out, you got to go in there and dump another $5,000 just to turn the unit.
Right.
So rentals is definitely a long-term play. You don't make much money today.
Right.
So a seller can be tired of dealing with all the headaches. Expect non-payment's usually the biggest one. Non-payment, do an eviction, they fight you. So you're 6 months into the eviction, you finally get somebody out, you walk into the house and it's destroyed, and the seller's just like, all right, like, I'm done.
Done.
Yeah.
So, and his timeline was he was ready to go now.
Now.
Well, which is interesting because, you had it 6 months. It was kind of like either way, it was probably the right time for him to sell it at that time. So even though the guy dropped the ball, fortunately, you guys picked it up at the perfect time, which doesn't always happen. Trust me. The condition was it was dated. It was dated. It needed renovation.
It was livable, but it was very dated.
It was dated, and it was a rental condition. Timeline now, vacant property, tired landlord, and he wanted $100,000. So you gave him $100,000?
100,000.
Okay.
So,
and what did you sell it for?
So I literally walked out the door, called a friend of mine that I knew was buying in the area. I said 150. He came by like immediately. The guy was still there. I was like, this is my business partner. Walked in the house and signed a contract for $150,000. So I made a $50,000 assignment fee in like 7 days.
Oh my gosh. Come on, ring that bell.
Let's get it.
I love it. 50,000. It does. It blows me away. It really does, Austin. I mean, I just look at these things. This month is the biggest month that we've had at 285,000 that we're closing. Right. I love it. And I just think about that, and I think about just you can easily just Google and just what's the average household, how long would that take people to make in just a 9 to 5, and it's just the opportunities in real estate are unbelievable.
100%.
And I'm in Phoenix. Like, everybody's like, oh my gosh, that's so competitive. How do you make money there? Are you doing business there? Are you doing it virtually? No, it's all here. It's all hard work. It's all talking to people. It's all building up the pipeline. And it's all just like, if I were to think, when I started out, I remember the first time I got a $42,000 deal. And I was like shaking. Like, I was literally shaking, and I was like uncomfortable, and I was just like, oh my gosh, can I do this again? And now we average $42,000 a deal.
That's phenomenal.
Average. You know what I mean? But that is the potential. I'm not trying to like do a humble brag here on this. It's literally like I want to inspire that the ceiling on this is so high. There's people that I talk to that their average deal size is $2 million that they make on things. You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many different layers to this, but it starts with planting the seed of finding those distressed property owners and
100%.
Having that conversation.
100%. And the thing like that really shifted for me over the years, like, if you make a $42,000 assignment fee or $50,000 or 10 or 20, whatever it is, and you do it one day, why can't you do that every day?
Right.
It's the same thing. Just start multiplying.
That's it.
We get in our own heads and think that, like, it's this one-off happening. Like, if it happened, it can happen again. But people don't understand.
Well, and people, and that's the other thing about keeping all your money in that business. You get real loosey-goosey, and all of a sudden you're starting to do other things that didn't get you the deals in the first place because you're trying to peer around corners that aren't there, and it ends up, really hurting you. So I love that you're taking the chips off the table and buying those properties, really looking to build up that rental portfolio and for long-term wealth.
For sure.
I mean, you're a young man. You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to, you're going to own millions and millions and millions of dollars in just a few years here. It's exciting to watch. So how do people find you? How do they reach out and kind of tell people what you're doing?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Instagram is where I communicate the most, at Austin Rutherford Official on Instagram. TikTok, I'm on there as well, just Austin Rutherford. YouTube, Austin Rutherford. We're still doing real estate, still getting deals, still buying rental properties. But a lot of my time recently has been, spent on putting out good content, helping people, and building the brand.
And from the start of this show, I talked about you're getting these deals from referrals.
Yeah.
Talk about, and I've talked about it on this podcast a lot and on this YouTube channel a lot, about being loud.
Yep.
And being loud opens up opportunities. What has it done for your business?
100%. People think that other people know what they do. Mm-hmm. Even if you've bought 100 houses, there's a lot of people, close friends, that have no idea that you're in real estate.
Right.
So social media is a beautiful platform that you can use now. There's two ways social media exists in today's world. It either uses you or you use it. Mm-hmm. That's it. If you're not on social, that's not an option. Because if you're not on it, everybody around you's on it and they're talking about it. Yep. So there's only two ways. So use it. Use it as a benefit. Tell your story. My biggest question is like, well, what do I post? Mm-hmm. Just document what you're doing. You don't got to create. This is creating stuff. You don't have to do that starting out. Just literally document what you do. Document what you wake up. Document the direct mail marketing campaign you sent out, the house that you bought, the house that you sold, the tenant that you had to evict, whatever it is. Just document the journey, and you will be blown away at the people that are like, holy moly, like, you're in real estate? My mom, my dad just passed away. My mom's looking to sell her house. I got this friend at work that doesn't know how to sell a house. My friend just got a deal. It's a $60,000 assignment fee from a friend he went to high school with that is a basement contractor that went into a house and needed work. Mm-hmm. And he's like, hey, bro, like, is this a deal? Like, you want to split it? He's like, yeah, let's split it. Yep. $60,000. Right. Just by a couple posts on social media. Yeah. So it's very powerful.
And you get to help out a lot of people that are starting out,
100%.
Right? A lot of people that are looking to get their first deals, and they're confused, and they're going through that trial period where you're like, oh my gosh, is this a deal or not a deal? How big of a deal is this? Is there anybody that can help me? I don't really know the paperwork. I don't know the language. I don't know the escrow officers. I don't even know what escrow is. All of those things. Yep. And they see you out there and you're being loud, and they're like, well, maybe this guy can help me out. And then they DM you.
100%.
And then all of a sudden you're buying that deal.
Absolutely.
And all of a sudden you put that into your rental portfolio, or you help them flip it, or you help them wholesale it.
100%.
Right?
100%.
And it's because you're getting these referrals, because people are seeing you out there doing the work. Yep. You're actually doing the business. Yep. And they need help.
Absolutely.
And they want to reach out, and you respond.
Absolutely. Talking to people. Like,
That's it.
We do free meetups in the city. Like, just connect with as many people as possible. You never know the one person or the 100 people that are going to add value to your life, or potentially one relationship can literally change the trajectory of your life.
For sure.
And you touch way more people on social media than you ever can in real life.
Yep. Love it.
Absolutely.
Love it. Give everybody your Instagram again.
It's at Austin Rutherford Official on Instagram.
Guys, reach out to Austin, especially if you're in Columbus. Look at, he's got a phenomenal TikTok for everybody out there that's on TikTok. He is just growing that like bananas. So definitely check that out. I love that. It's really cool.
Thank you, brother.
And thank you so much for being on here, brother.
Absolutely, my man.
That was awesome. And if you are interested in joining the most proactive group in real estate investing, it is the TTP family. It is the TTP program. Go to wholesalinginc.com/TTP, wholesalinginc.com/TTP. Check out what the program is about. Check out all the testimonials. If it feels good in your gut, sign up for a strategy call, and we look forward to working with you. And I would look forward to working with you personally in that program. But other than that, guys, as always, I sign off by encouraging you to talk to people. Until next time, love you guys. See ya.